Commissioner Elholm, supported by Commissioner DePietro. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Public comment. Anyone wishing to address the board, please come forward, state your name and address, and you may speak. Public comment.
Get Lindsay out of the way here. Ladies and gentlemen, Marquette County Board of Commissioners, once again, my name is Nolan Lanny Duquette from Nagani. I was one of the original founders, owners, and employees of Boreal Aviation for many years. Briefly, you know my association with Boreal. Tonight I'd just like to remind you that Boreal has used and maintained facilities and equipment left behind by the Air Force at Sawyer to help with economic development, and would in the future continue to do this as long as possible. If they were to be awarded the new FBO contract, they have already put into future plans to continue to upgrade equipment and facilities. This is a benefit not only to them, but to the Sawyer Airport in Marquette County. Boreal has always maintained a strong and well-trained staff. FBOs require this to succeed. Made up of several veterans and local employees, they bring knowledge of how to assist both military and civilian aircraft. I encourage you to give Boreal Aviation serious consideration in your selection process. Over 20 years at Sawyer has more than proven their ability. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Good evening, ladies, gentlemen, commissioners. Thank you. First, I'd like to read some correspondence from one of our members that couldn't be here, if you'll accept that.
Give your name and address,
Sure.
please.
Gregory, my name is Roger Bentlage. I'm sorry, Marquette County resident on Chocolate Township. I'd like to read the memorandum from Greg Durand, one of our committee members at Boreal, also a Marquette County resident. I, Greg M. Durand, an involved leader, supporter, and active pilot of our general aviation community in Marquette County, fully support Boreal Aviation for our FBO. As a past president of our EAA chapter, current acting president of our Marquette County Flying Club, and lead mentor in every Marquette County youth aviation program to include Bothwell 7th grade Bay Cliff camps, I could not have achieved the success we have experienced over the years without the dedication and support of Boreal Aviation staff and their commitment to support us in so many ways. Having been involved with this RFQ process from the beginning, my involvement with Boreal leadership and witnessing the hurdles and setbacks Boreal has had to experience, I have come to realize Boreal has much more to offer our community and airport than one can imagine. Their integrity, willingness, and dedication in delivering excellent line service, FBO operations to our community and visitors is proven. Every Sawyer aviator I have spoken with over the past months is in full support of Boreal Aviation getting this contract. Sincerely, Gregory M. Durand, Command Master Sergeant, U.S. Air Force, retired. And now while I'm here, I'd like to make some comments of my own, if that's permissible.
Sure.
Okay, again, Roger Bentlage, a Marquette County resident. My background is one of a blend of aviation and business. I'm a retired naval aviator after 32 years. I've retired from industry. I was president of multiple corporations and principal stockholder, so I understand business. We moved up here in retirement 11 years ago and have never looked back. We love every minute of it up here. During that period of 11 years, I've had one or currently two aircraft based at Sawyer, so I've had personal experience directly with Boreal Aviation. They provided, of course, all of the usual support that a Boreal or that a FBO would supply to its customers, but they go well above and beyond, and I mean this sincerely. Simple examples, I'd be out shoveling snow, the county can only come within 2 feet of Boreal is swinging by with a truck, they'll come by and plow you out. They'll stop by to give you some additional service if you need some fuel or help pushing your aircraft in. I only mention that because it's easy to quantify dollars and cents, employee retention, benefits to the community from an economic standpoint, that sort of stuff, which I think has gone pretty well proven at this stage. What is underlying, when I was asked to join this advisory committee, I learned a lot more about Boreal and the makeup of that organization and its motives and its basically morals and desires to become part of our community and remain part of our community. So I personally would hate to see them leave. I think we can be very proud of having had Boreal here, and hopefully we'll have Boreal in the future for another 10 plus years. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
You've seen me before, right? I'm Mark Hangen. I am a Marquette County resident. I have a company here, Easy Ice, some of you may be familiar with. So I'm a local business guy, and I'm a big utilizer of general aviation. We've been here, this is our 10th anniversary. We've been connected with the airport for those 10 years. Did some interesting analysis before I came over. In the 10 years we've been here, we have spent $879,418.22 on general aviation services expected to be delivered by the FBO. Of that 879,000, 336,772 or 38% of that was given to Boreal. The other $542,646 didn't go to Boreal because they didn't provide those services. And I'm talking about avionics services, propeller services, paint interior, and some at the time A&P services. They've improved that somewhat. But here's my point. When you put in your summary, Scott, you said something about the central question before the board is deciding which proposal is more likely to result in the greatest benefit to the county long term. And both companies are well qualified to be Sawyer International Airport's fixed-base operator. I'd just like to say that $542,000 could have gone locally, could have gone to Boreal, but those services weren't available, and so they ended up going out of state in many cases, in particular Ohio and Chicago. I think we are better served with an FBO whose legacy is in fact the full service FBO services. I mean, let's be honest. 20 years being here is a long time, and they should be commended for that. But 20 years, and now we're saying, hey, we're going to start to add some of these other services. You had 20 years to do it. Where were they over the last 20 years? Because now the contract's up for bid. All of a sudden, it becomes an imperative. And the reality of it is I'm guessing that this contract for the next 20 years is probably somewhere in the $80 to $100 million contract in terms of revenue generated, of which 85% is jet fuel. All right? Only 15% is going to be these other services, and yet it's these other services that people like myself, companies like myself need in order to use aviation for our businesses. And I can assure you, if we didn't have general aviation and didn't have that capability, we wouldn't locate here. In fact, we would leave without the ability to have general aviation. We have general aviation here, but not to the extent that it could be. And so I think that's an important issue. The other thing I would say is I think there's a big difference between local and non-local ownership. And there's a company out there, Civics Economics, who's done a study, and it's shown that the multiplier effect of a locally owned business is 378% greater than a non-locally owned business, which means a dollar spent here revolves through the community 378% more times than a dollar that is earned but the owners aren't here. And this is the big box theory that you're seeing out there, whether it's PetSmart or any of these big box stores versus local ownership. You want the local ownership because that money gets reinvested in the local community, not sent out of state. And this is one of the big advantages I think Easy Ice has in this community, in that we have no customers here, but we bring all the revenue we earn from customers outside the state, which is $50 million, into this community, and it creates wealth in this community because we're local owners. So I think, if all things being equal, if the difference between the two FBOs were one was local and one wasn't local, just that multiplier effect suggests you go with a local ownership group versus a non-local ownership group. So those are the reasons I think it's important that we consider all our opportunities here and just not focus on the incumbent. All right?
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Public comment?
Good evening, everyone, commissioners, concerned citizens, employees. Tom Klein, I'm not local. I'm reside in Falls Church, Virginia. But our headquarters is in Marquette County. All the money that's earned through the employees, through the state income tax, is paid to Michigan. Not to Florida, not to Arizona. It stays here. So I want to make it's a big distinguishing factor. Ownership is not local, but the headquarters has been from day one, and always will be. We make that commitment. Kubik, who is obviously in the running, is not a Marquette County-based company. They're in Dixon County. There's a big difference. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Can I just add a point? So I don't know you. I'm your biggest customer. It's not corporate, you know, it's not American Airlines or you know, the cargo companies. I'm not sure you know.
You should probably direct that to comments this way, not to each other. It's a
Okay.
bad idea.
So here's what yeah, fair enough. And I have no axe to grind. I got no investment in Kubik or anything like that. I've given a lot of money, but I've actually given them $250,000 to the 300 and some thousand I've given to Boreal. I will agree that your local employees and having a headquarters here is important. But are you telling me all the profits that you make don't somehow wind up in Virginia? All those profits are reinvested here in this community? I'd be interested in knowing the answer to that question.
Public comment? Any other public comment?
Good evening, Commissioners. My name is Kathy Busby, and I'm the Administrative Assistant at Boreal Aviation. I'm coming to you tonight as a concerned employee. Based on information that has been provided, the new FBO is looking at having approximately 6 employees on hand, meaning 6 to 8 local residents of Marquette County will lose our jobs. There has been concern of running the Sawyer FBO as a satellite operation, which will hurt our local economy. Those who will lose our jobs will possibly include our office management, the potential loss of all office support, including administrative and accounting, the PMIL, which is our calibrations lab, who services Envoy on a regular basis, our fuel service line employees, our maintenance mechanic, $25,000 to $46,000 of income per employee lost for local residents annually, meaning a reduction in tax revenue as well. We have worked with the Lake Superior Partnership to determine our economic value through employment. Losing 6 to 8 employees will cause a loss to the Marquette County economy in excess of $150,000. I just ask that you consider this in your final decision. Thank you.
Thank you. Public comment?
Ed Glasgow, Marquette County resident, current Boreal Aviation employee. Been there 16 years, 20 years in the Air Force, so 36 years around aircraft. Pretty comfortable around aircraft. I'm just up here to say that part of the problem when the committee was reviewing things before was the loss of the qualified staff that they had. I was one of those individuals they were concerned with. If you notice, I still wear a Boreal Aviation shirt. I'm still there, will be there. I'm not there in the capacity as a manager as I was. I'm there part-time, still there to help them out. Was a member of the Airport Advisory Board with Commissioner Alholm and at a meeting out there. I left my position there because I pursued other full-time employment, was still a part-time employee at Boreal. I never left the airport. I haven't left the airport in full capacity for the 16 years that I've worked there. All right. Yes, there are other competitors going against us that may have some of the services that Mr. Hangen would require. Not to say that he's gotten all those services that he needs done at our competitor. As he has said, a lot of his money did go out of the state, out of our county, out of the state for his repairs. So I know that only because I deal with the aircraft every day. So all I've got to say with this is being an employee out there, I know how dedicated we are to customers' concerns. I know how dedicated I am to customers' concerns. The airport manager and the airport operations director can tell you themselves how many additional hours I spend out there at that airport not being paid just because I care about what goes on with Boreal, with the customers. I do a lot of things for the airport themselves that we get nothing for, never asked anything for. So all I've got to say is we are dedicated to being there. We will maintain the services, improve our services. And any customer that asks for anything extra, we're willing to go the extra mile to help. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, Commissioners and others in the Marquette community. I'm Kevin Leeds, Business Development Executive of Cubic Aviation. I wanted to really frame some of the ideas and fears that have been presented from the Boreal employees, because at no time during this interest of ours in coming forward and looking at this opportunity here in Marquette from a business standpoint, we never threatened on what might happen as a result of Cubic getting an award to act as the FBO in Marquette County. As such, I'd like to, again, calm some fears with the interest of moving forward. August 31st, September 1st, to be quite frank with you, we don't have the ability to hire 14 people, 12 people, 10 people, whatever it is, to make this happen. So we're very interested in talking to those who may want to make that transition, and that's always been our premise and what we saw as an opportunity to continue some of the values really that Boreal has had in what they bring in their people. It's not about the people, about what will make, excuse me, it is about the people that will make this operation work, whose name is on the building, is more about the future of the airport. And our vision extends far beyond those 14 employees that are currently there. We hope to, with some examples of growth and cooperation with the county and looking at what we see as the future of Sawyer Airport, that number would continue to increase. So I just want to calm some fears. We're not here to come in and crash, to push ourselves in to a situation. We want to approach this from a very accommodating standpoint. And our interest is, again, the future of the airport and the people that will make that happen. A lot of them are sitting in this room, and we hope to, with an award, give them the opportunity to continue to thrive in perhaps a way that they've just never been accustomed to. So, thank you.
Thank you. Public comment?
So, good evening. My name is Robert Henning. I'm a resident of Chalkley Township, also a retired first sergeant from the U.S. Army. I am a part of Boreal Aviation that nobody much mentions over here, and that is I'm manager of the calibration laboratory. I've been in Boreal Aviation for over 22 years, and I've managed that industrial calibration laboratory all that time. We provide calibration services to many local businesses, including Envoy, Inc., Air, and Sawyer International Airport. In fact, I have provided emergency calibrations for the airport master altimeters on 2 different occasions. We calibrate the scales used at the check-in counters in the terminal. These scales require on-site calibration as they are mounted into the counters. If Boreal Aviation goes away, so will the only calibration laboratory in the UP, along with all the services we provide and 2 job positions. We thank you for the opportunity to express some of my thoughts.
Thank you for your work.
Good evening, Commissioners, Marquette County concerned citizens, my fellow Boreal staff. My name is Chelsea Hennessy. I am a Marquette County resident, and I am the Director of Business Operations at Boreal. I stand before you today request that you consider a few key pieces of information regarding the FBO recommendation. Boreal is a Marquette County-based business. We were incorporated in Michigan more than 25 years ago. We've been committed to Marquette County and Sawyer International for more than 20 years. We have experience working with aircraft as small as a Piper Cub to as big as an Antonov, including Air Force One. We are the only DoD contracted fuel vendor in the entire UP, which means we can support military aircraft, which you guys know have boosted our economic value in previous years with military training exercises, the survey planes, and the icing teams. Over these 20 years, we've gained an enormous amount of assets, including 2 jet fuel trucks, a 100 low lead component system, 2 courtesy vehicles, 2 line service vehicles, a 100 low lead tank, and a 100 low lead self-serve system, a variety of grounds equipment, and 2 calibration labs full of equipment. These assets exceed a total value of $500,000. To replace them and start from square one, the initial investment should be significantly more than $175,000. We're planning to replace a portion of our equipment, just a small portion, that includes tugs and fuel trucks and de-icing, and in that portion alone, we're anticipating the cost is going to be more than $300,000. That's quoted from vendors. Envoy, known as American Airlines, has a maintenance facility on the airfield. They pumped over 200,000 gallons of fuel specific to the maintenance facility last year. It doesn't include scheduled revenue flights, and this added $80,000 of revenue for Marquette County. In order to support this operation, you need 2 fuel trucks, one to put the fuel on and one specifically designated for defueling. 2 fuel trucks, if purchased, run close to $100,000 a piece. We meet this requirement and we have the investments. In addition to equipment investments we intend to make, we have over $65,000 of renovations planned for Building 427, the GA terminal. This is a Marquette County asset. It's valued just over $440,000 from a recent tax survey. Loss of lease revenue on this building is significant, and rather than knocking down a perfectly functional building, we want to upgrade it, increase the value to the county, and guarantee that the county will receive that income for more than 10 years. Boreal is guaranteeing the lease revenue for 10 years with no request to exit the lease at any time, and allowing a provider to exit a lease does not guarantee that revenue for the entire term. In the document on page 5 that was released as part of the board packet, the numbers generated reflect 10-year term, assuming that you have 10 years fulfilled by both parties. My concern is the accuracy of this number when you can't guarantee that you will receive 10 years from both parties. Boreal's proposed to continue the lease on Building 427, but also all other facilities that we currently lease at the new proposed rates. We would continue to maintain these facilities, including the fuel farm, and our $25,000 annual payment would assist in supplementing the county budget for major repairs, unforeseen expenses, and the larger factor, we would continue to pay the utilities on all of these buildings. It should be considered that the numbers reflected in the board packet only document lease revenue. Landing fees and flowage fees have to be considered as well as significant. We're an established company on the field with a proven track record, and we've worked very hard to build relationships with our GA customers, and I think the audience we have tonight shows that. Through rebuilding relationships and working to bring business and interest to general aviation, our sales have grown significantly in the past few years. We anticipate that they will continue to do so. This provides a significant amount of revenue for the county. For flowage fees only, that number was over $87,000 for 2018. If the county were to adjust the flowage rates that we suggested, that number would only continue to grow. The last issue I want to bring to your attention is the effect on the local community that this process has. We've worked hard to build relationships and support local groups, charities, and organizations. We have established grant programs with our local flying club. We want to increase general aviation awareness, specifically to the younger crowd. We've also provided support and donations to local food banks, law enforcement, military, first responders, and I understand that our value to the county is key, but we also have to look at our value to our community and our local economy. We have 14 employees on staff. 13 of these reside in Marquette County, and at Cubic's projected 6 employees, that's a loss of 8 jobs locally. That number exceeds $150,000 per year. To attest our character and our integrity, our proposal's been the same since day one. We work in the best interest of Marquette County, and our intentions are clear. We want to continue to support Marquette County, but we want to support our local economy as well. In closing, Boreal is committed to Marquette County and the Sawyer International family. We have the required equipment and vehicles on board. We're willing to invest in additional requirements, including current facilities and our GA terminal, and there is no operational, financial, or transitional risk in selecting us. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Public comment? Any other public comment? Okay, we'll close the public comment. We have before us tonight a final decision on the FBO, and we had all the proposals sent out by the administrator, and indicates both companies are capable of doing it. And I guess I'd like to give you I've sat in on the last two negotiations, sat in with the county staff for many hours, about 20 hours worth of work in the last 10 days on this, and gave it serious consideration after listening to the negotiations and to the county staff. I'll just run where I landed on this whole thing. The financial summary over the 10 years shows plus $97,633 for Boreal. Okay, Boreal leasehold improvements, $65,000 in the GA terminal, as well as some improvements to the wall and ceiling improvements in hangars. Quebec, $25,000 investment in the GA terminal, and would consider in future years building a new GA terminal if it made financial sense. Marketing, both proposed $10,000 contribution. As far as other strengths, I guess Boreal has been here for 20 years. It's been a solid company. So they have a track record here in Marquette County. They employ 14 people that live here, and that is one thing that jumps out at me, no matter what business you're talking about, is how many people are working there, I guess, is something that gets my attention, along with a lot of other important things, but that is important. Okay, they've established a advisory committee out there to try to help them get a better handle on customer service, which I like, because every business can get better. And listening to the gentleman, he would like to see more services coming out of the FBO. Well, I guess if they can make some money doing it, I would think that they'd probably provide the services or try to find the skilled people to be able to do it. But you can see that there's room for growth. Okay, as far as they work with the EAA chapter here, the Marquette Flying Club. They're willing to take over leadership of Sawyer Days, and they've mentioned that willing to invest up to $300,000 in new equipment. That's pretty significant when you're running a local operation. So where I landed on this is Boreal Aviation had the superior proposals and the track record and the local employees, and would entertain a motion to consider it.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. At this time, I'd like to make a motion that we approve a contract to Boreal Aviation as presented.
I will support.
Support.
Supported by Commissioner Alholm. Open it up for questions from the board. Any questions?
Well, I'm glad that we gave Quebec their due diligence. I think their due time. I think that they deserve that, and I think that they're both very good providers. But I'm with you that I give weight to the people working there. I don't want to disrupt it if we don't have to. I also give a lot of weight to the fact that Boreal's been here since the beginning. When we first started this redevelopment of this former Air Force base, it took a lot of effort. There were a lot of companies that didn't make it, and Boreal is still here, so I'm happy for that, and I give them extra weight for that as well. I am a little bit, I understand one thing that was said, though, that Boreal really didn't sharpen their pencil until it came time to do these bids, but I guess it's happening now. We're the ones that are going to benefit because we went through this process, because now we got Boreal doing more for us, and we would have had Quebec doing more for us if we had them. So I think that we did the right thing as a county, but at the end of the day, I think that Boreal is the proper choice.
I guess I would like to reinforce Boreal was there from day one when we didn't have much out at the airport. And it was tough getting things going out there 20-plus years ago when everything was empty. So that remains with me to this day, what they did out there. I mean, all these kinds of things helped with some development out at K.S. Sawyer, which was extremely important as a county when we were charged with trying to redevelop it. So we thank you for being one of the early people out there to give a little push on the wagon.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. One of the things that I really appreciate is having you and Scott and the staff meeting face to face with both parties. And both parties had a chance to review everything that they could offer for the betterment at K.I. Sawyer and all the hours that everybody spent together. So I appreciate it very much, and I think everybody would be very contented for the next 10 years with this company. Thank you very much.
We had two very well qualified and competitive companies submit proposals and qualification data. It was a long process. A lot of time was put into this process, not only by the staff, but others. There was a steering committee of very qualified and dedicated people looking through it. We did have concerns expressed by Cubic earlier that some information we had was not correct, and we provided time to correct that error. This is not an easy decision, even though I'm familiar with Boreal. As Mr. Glasgow indicated, I'm on the Airport Advisory Committee, and it's always tempting perhaps to try see how greener the grass might be on the other side of the fence. But given the information we had from Boreal on the revenues and maintaining our workforce, I am comfortable with my decision to support retaining Boreal.
I've been on this board 3 years now, and I've also been on the Airport Advisory board for those 3 years. So I have the experience of having dealt with Boreal and its employees. Ed Glasgow is a member of the Airport Advisory Board. Prior to that, I served for 3 years as a civil counsel to the county, and of course, in that capacity, had contact with Boreal in terms of various contracts, etc., or problems that arose. I always found them to be very cooperative in trying to work out any problems. Prior to that, I was a member of the old airport board, not Airport Advisory Board, when they were up in Nagani. And in fact, when the move came out here and this board wanted, there was a lot of controversy as to whether we should abandon the Nagani airport and come out here or not. I was the last chairman of the airport board when it was in Nagani. I was 100% in support of moving it out here. Not every member of that board was. And that was controversial, but I thought, you know, when you got a 12,000-foot runway and they're giving you a lot of equipment, and the fact that the airport initially was out here, and then when the Air Force indicated they wanted to come in, of course, they relocated it to the airfield that was in Nagani Township. But I can say that as a member of the old airport board and its operations in Nagani, at least half of every meeting was devoted to problems we were having former FBO. So coming on to the county both as a civil council and then as a member of the airport advisory board, it was such a pleasure not having to deal with half of every meeting related to problems with the FBO. And I'm not saying that everything was perfect and we didn't have to discuss some things with Boreal, but it was not in a contentious manner as I experienced in, when I was chair of the old board with the then FBO. And so I would describe my great surprise that we had a good functioning relationship with the FBO as compared to my prior experience. And I think they've done a good job. They were willing to listen to any problems we thought we had with them. They offered, I know Ed offered great advice to the airport advisory board in the time he was on the board, when Karen and I were both on the board, and I can't put words in Karen's mouth, but I think we were both very pleased with the suggestions and input we received from Ed as a member of the board, airport advisory board, and it was not necessarily coming from Boreal, but from Ed as a good employee of Boreal, providing us with good information on airport advisory. So I appreciated their input to our deliberations, and I think a lot of the information they furnished us made it possible for the entire airport advisory board to make good recommendations to this board. And I greatly appreciate the fact that they have 14 employees, 13 of whom reside in this county. When I graduated from law school, everybody was flying off to Philadelphia or New York or San Francisco, and I said, I'm going back to Marquette. And he said, are you crazy? And I said, no, I choose to raise my family in an area where it's not in the big city. That doesn't mean I don't like to go to New York or Chicago or Detroit for short stays, but I choose to return to my roots. And I'm 74 years old now. I'm basically retired. But I believe we have a quality of life here that I came back to and that I enjoyed, and that I hope we can maintain jobs and economic activity in this area. And I think we're on a path to do that. I hope, you know, I've got 8 grandchildren and 3 great-grandchildren, and they all still live here. I don't have to go flying off to visit any of them in exotic places. Sometimes I wish they did live in some of those places, so I'd have an excuse to go there and visit. But I am confident that with the good work that is being done, and the recognition of people that, you know, we've got the biggest body of fresh water in the world here. And that's the goose that's going to lay our golden egg if we don't pollute it. A lot of people want to go to Arizona and Texas and everything because they can golf 12 months a year. And I guess if you're a golfer, I can see the attraction. But you can't live without water. You can live without golf. And so I think because of that natural resource that we have, the economic future of the UP is good. And like, my grandchildren to be able to stay here and live in this area and not have to go to a large metropolitan area where you have to wait sometimes 5 minutes at a stoplight to get through it. I was a little disappointed last year. It was the first time in my life that I had to wait. It took me 2 stoplights to get through an intersection in Marquette, and I thought, my God, are we becoming that big? But the roundabouts that helped me.
We have a motion and a support, and further comments?
I'd like to finish Commissioner Adamini's story for the public, the media, people watching us on TV. He kept saying FBO, and that means fixed base operator. That's what he was talking about.
Right.
But the people that are in the civilian world, that don't have nothing to do with the airlines, did not know what FBO is. Thank you for letting me finish the story.
Thank you
Any
for,
comments, Mr. DeRosa?
assisting me, and, I should have mentioned that by name so that people know what I was talking about.
Thank you.
But you're always helpful to me, John.
Anyway, I'd like to thank Quebec for their proposal. They're a quality company and gave competitive proposals and were good to work with. But we have a motion and a support to approve Boreal Aviation for the 10-year agreement. Further comments? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Public comment? Any public comment? Staff comments?
Good evening, everybody. Chair Kubik, just wanted to thank you for the opportunity. Best of luck to you.
Good evening again. Just also want to thank you for the opportunity and say that we look forward to the next 10 to 20 years.
Thank you for your work.
I want to say to Mr. Kubik and to the supporters that my vote with respect to Boreal is based on my experience with them. I've heard nothing good about Kubik.
Nothing good?
And,
You mean nothing bad, you mean?
Yeah, nothing bad about Kubik. And I appreciated their interest and their offers, and I believe they would. But the deciding thing for me was the fact that we've got a track record with Boreal, and the fact that we've got 14 current employees of Boreal. And I didn't know whether or not they hired or not. But that was my prime reason for my vote in favor of Boreal. But I think you have a good quality program you're running, and maybe 10 years from now, when this comes up again, you got another crack at it.
Meeting's adjourned.
I'd like to note that Commissioner